Mr. Lamborn, we have a request to speak, so I'll turn that over to you.
As I mentioned in the packet, we used to do quite a few student presentations throughout the year when good things were happening, and COVID hit and we got away from that. We were talking in our admin meeting the other day that I think that's been a disservice to the board this year. We haven't had some student groups come in and see what you're doing. So some neat things are happening at the middle school. We wrote a computer science grant last year and we got some money. That money allowed us to do some things in all of the different schools. One of the places that it's taken off really well is at the middle school with Mr. Mata and Mr. Smith working in the science program and doing some things. So Mr. Mata, I'll kind of turn it to you, Mr. Smith.
Just like Superintendent said, we wrote that grant and with that grant, we were able to buy materials pretty much. What else was the grant good on? Computer science.
Oh, we did some training. We bought
Yeah.
some robots and made the plan.
And as and we're here as a middle school, but this has been a district-wide movement. It was mandated basically from the state that we put more computer science, and we need more computer science in our curriculum. So we've done some things at the elementary with little robots and having people come in, like at our elementary, we have Mrs. Early teaches some coding to the 4th and 5th graders, and the other teachers take care of that through little robots and stuff like that. With that grant, we were able to buy how many robots? 10, and they were not cheap.
About $800 a piece.
Yeah, so in those robots, Mr. Smith took on the role as we moved him to the middle school. He accepted the responsibility of teaching our young children some coding and computer stuff. So come on in, it's cool. We're not looking.
But I just need to give my dad's real life for back. Then can you?
I can help.
Sorry.
That's scary, wasn't it? So I'm gonna, we have a couple students here. We're gonna go down to Miss Cornea's room, and they're gonna demonstrate. What are they gonna do with the robots?
Well, I would like to say a couple things first, but let's go down there and then
You can speak here if you- unless you want to talk.
well, I want them to be able to hear what I wanted to say too. So
Yeah.
basically, I just wanted to kind of introduce it and then let them show you. But if we could flip down there, I
Yeah,
think that'd be great.
So those of you that are online will be back soon.
Yeah, just got to go show them the robots. Will be about 5 minutes probably.
That all foundation.
Yeah.
We'll see what works.
You know, like Gary was saying, because Tesla's moving all their stuff to Texas.
Maybe I don't want to steal Eric's thunder, but I think we're getting some pretty cool robots and milling machines out to Brigham.
We're getting
A real fan of robot, big one.
Really?
The
The
yellow
real
ones.
one, the real one.
one that they can bring over the hill and try out my place
The one that does all the.
during the summer.
Yeah, they're getting a real one.
Okay, is that ready to go again?
You could probably do that, huh?
Oh, we never.
Program that with Bill Hayes Sports and
Oh,
stuff.
we're still going.
We're still going.
Great.
Gonna be some silence for a while.
Yeah. Okay, well, that was really good. We appreciate him showing us that. Well, continuing on, any questions on the minutes? Accept a motion to approve them.
I'll make a motion that we approve the minutes.
I'll second that.
Okay, motion and second, all in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Okay, motion carries. About paying the bills.
I'll make a motion that we pay the bills.
Okay,
All second.
got a second? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, motion carries. All right, first action item, superintendent, approve trust land plan.
Turn the time to Corey and the principals. I think the plans are all included in your packets, should be. So, Mr. Corney.
So every spring, our community council gets councils for each of our schools. Each of our four schools gets together. The principal sets a date for the meeting. The council members all come in and they do like a data dive. They look at all of the different testing, assessment things, anything that the principal feels kind of helps the council to see what the highest academic need is for trust lands. So as they do this, they come up with the plan, they build their plan during that meeting, and then the principals each go in and write up their plan afterwards. So that's what we're here for tonight, is the board members to just approve those plans. So the first one, I think in your packet's Northridge Elementary, so I'm just gonna try and go in that order that they're in there. They have 3 goals. The first goal is for language arts. Under that goal, they'll use some of the funding for paraprofessionals, academic reading, or I'm sorry, Acadience reading, accelerated reader, classroom aid, their software, and that is for accelerated reader, that's their AR software, and then supplies to go along with that goal. Goal 2 is the math goal. Again, it's for paraprofessionals, Acadience math, and then the classroom aid, and then goal 3 is fine art, character education, assemblies, and a singing and dance production at the end. Do you have anything to add to that?
No, I think that's pretty much everything. Maybe the amount of money that we've been given through the state, and we've decided to use trust lands money to buy human capital. That's been the most productive and the best bang for the buck. We are so advanced, quite frankly, technology wise, because of these fundings in the past. As I go around the country and visit schools, we're head and shoulders above anybody in the country with technology and what we have available for our kids. And so that's happened for a number of reasons, but we don't have to spend our money, especially at the elementary, on a whole bunch of technology anymore. We can buy human capital so we can get people in front of kids that love kids and can help them learn. So that's pretty much where we're at there. So what's the
So
total amount this year? I
Northridge,
can't remember.
the estimated amount is $61,840. It's on that.
Substantial amount of money. Yeah.
Yeah, that's pretty good.
And the district gets the allocation and then it goes off of the numbers that we had the previous year. And we just always left it the same. We figure that's just how we done it. We'll keep it that way unless anyone has an issue with it. We just use the previous year's numbers to go on. Next one, Southbridge Elementary, has 2 goals. The first goal is language arts and science. Use that for a paraprofessional, assemblies, AR books, AR software, teacher materials, technology, and professional development. And then basically with these guys, the math is the other half of that goal. So language arts and math are the areas that were the very lowest. And then we had some issues with science, so we threw that in there also. So for the math goal, paraprofessional, and we split that para with the language arts goal. Assemblies, contracted services, which is this year we just had Kristen Hilty in here. We actually brought her in twice. The first time we used trust lands money with NRE, and then the second time we used some of Jenny's magic money. Right, Jenny? Jenny has lots of that good magic.
Can we just get more of that magic money?
The federal government.
Some of our ESSER funding, but it was for, that's what we use some of that for. Teacher materials, our teachers at Southbridge Elementary love this because they're each given, this year we were able to give them $500 each, and they could go in and buy supplies. They had to have it approved by their principal, but they could go in and choose exactly what works that they need in their classroom to help supplement language arts and math and science. So that's pretty much SRE. Their amount is $60,137. Then the middle school, Mr. Lambert, did you want to add anything for your school? I'm sorry. The middle school, they have 2 goals. Their first one's language arts. Again, it's for like Mr. Motter was saying, paraprofessional books and supplies. And then goal 2 was all of the academic areas, and this is where we fund our one-to-one devices. So they'll be buying 45 Surface laptops and the insurance for those. And then they've also got kind of a cool thing, and they're buying this year. They're purchasing VR headsets, so it's virtual reality headsets, so they can go on those virtual field trips. And it's a trip.
Yeah,
Pretty cool.
they've made so much improvement in that technology. And as we surveyed the teachers, we found that it would be useful at every content area. And the content that's available to us, to the company we decided to go with, it's pretty incredible stuff. You can do amazing things with it, and the technology is pretty cool. So
He was working on it one day when I walked in over there, and it was impressive just what you could see on the
Yeah.
screen. So
So how many headsets did we end up getting?
I think we bought a set of 30.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
In a cart, a chargeable cart, so it's available to any teacher who wants to use it when they go. I would think there'd be a schedule for whatever.
Mhm.
The idea of getting them in the classroom began a couple years ago with Miss Johnson in the history department. She had the cardboard ones. They've pretty much been obsolete now. They don't work very well anymore. And the technology has moved more to the program and a good computer, and the graphics are incredible.
What device did you use with the cardboard ones? Because don't they have to like slip a device in there or something like that?
we did iPods.
Yeah, we have iPods.
iPods.
Hmm.
Yeah, we have
Well, I
iPods.
remember her bringing them here and we were pretty impressed.
Yeah, we
Yeah.
looked at those.
Yeah, that was several years ago. When was that?
Yeah.
No, that's the obsolete one.
Yeah, see that, yeah. And now you can enhance that like tenfold. But you can go anywhere in the world and be there and reach out and touch stuff.
So do they have the two hand?
They had the controls. You have the controls if you want to use them. You can either do it where the kids have free control of where they go and what they see in a certain content or wherever you're showing them, or the teacher can have complete control. And from their computer, run it like, okay, look, here comes the Empire State Building, whatever. So, yeah, it'll be fun to see how it works out. It's pretty cool technology. The teachers are pretty fired up about it.
So the other thing that the middle school has on there under goal 2 is an assembly for digital citizenship. That is a requirement for every school has to do a digital citizenship assembly for the trust funds money. And the middle school's amount, the estimated allocation is $67,386.10. They're just going up. Those amounts just keep raising up. It's kind of nice. Then the last one's a high school. They have 4 goals. The first goal is all the academic areas, and again, it's for the one-to-one devices. They'll purchase 50 laptops for incoming freshmen. And then the STEM IT accounting and the supplies to go along with that. Their second goal is language arts, and that is their AR program, so it would be their software and some books to go along with that. Goal 3 is all academic areas. And this is where they choose to put $30,000 towards a special ed teacher at the high school. So it pays a portion of the salary and benefits for the high school special ed teacher. And then goal 4 is language arts, math, and science. And that is $12,000 to bring in ACT prep from BYU for all the juniors. So all the juniors, it's over a 2 days course that they bring them in. So do either of you have something you want to ask?
And the software test is included.
Oh,
in
yes.
that
Yep.
12,000.
But they have vouchers they buy vouchers for every sophomore to be able to take the ACT that chooses to. So they can get a practice in there. So that's pretty much our trust fund plans, and we just need you guys to tell us if we're on the right road or not.
That's a pretty substantial amount.
Oh, did I say the amount? I guess you guys can see it all. But the high school's amount is $80,499.
Over a $250,000.
Yeah.
Money,
All added together.
lots of money.
Well, we like trust lands.
No, keep the legislature out of it.
Yeah, and it's gone up every year for You all watched that movie and we'll have to watch it again this fall. But, for years it went fairly level. They didn't do a lot with those sentinel lands. And then they established that board. Mel Brown was very instrumental in that. The Trust Lands Board that started aggressively managing the funds, and it's just skyrocketed since then.
Scariest thing about that, about the trust land is that the legislature likes to try to use it to make up for poor management in other areas.
Yeah, they like to get their hands on
Every year they
it. It's too much and this, that, and the other, but it's the push this year, for whatever reason, wasn't near as much as it's been other years. And I think part of that is that the legislature a year ago kind of changed the formatting of the board a little bit. And I don't know if they're waiting to do that, but there's a lot of pushback because when they start wanting that money and they come out and say, no, that was specifically set aside for the kids. It's hard to argue against the kids
yeah.
that money was by the Constitution set aside for.
So do other states have a similar program?
Some do and some don't. The West kind of got in on that, the railroad sections and the school sections and all that stuff during the territorial colonization. You get on the East Coast and. I bet
Well,
there's-
what happened is every state got trust lands when they came into statehood, but most states just sold them or gave them away or didn't raise any money with them. Utah's the leader in the country with trust lands. Mel Brown and a couple other teachers in the PTA got into it big and said, you got all this land and we got all this money and you're just letting us sit here when you get to the kids.
Well, that's a good thing for us.
It's a huge amount of money.
Okay.
At the high school, have you seen that improvement, your goal of 2? Isn't that what the goal was?
Yes, on average, we're between 2 and 3 points of the sophomores to juniors.
Nice.
But we have failed to break the 22 average mark for the whole group.
To
That's-
break the 2 average mark?
When we break the 22, we have tried and tried over the years. We just 21.6, 21.2, 21.8, 21.3, 20.8.
It's incredibly frustrating.
And we pre-COVID, we were on a roll and we were gonna break it. And because we did. All right, some groups do better than others coming up through school, and we had the ace in the whole group that was gonna finally break us out. And COVID hit. And they dropped. So it was devastating. Wasn't it?
So it's just that group, so junior to seniors, is that what you're saying, or
Yeah,
seniors?
But we've been steadily improving from sophomore to juniors by doing more test prep. I think we're starting to figure it out. I just, we're gonna do it.
It's hard to move that whole average up a point. Harder than you think.
It is difficult. One day.
They still wait to that ACT heavy.
That's part of the problem, to moving target. It's
Well, I think,
And you
I'm
mean
not sure
are you meaning for colleges?
Yeah.
Yeah, you know what? You can speak to it because you've been with seniors more, but. How important is the ACT?
Oh.
Go ahead.
Okay, I thought we were talking about the norming that takes. place.
Answer that. I've heard
you were answering a different question.
Wait, the what?
I heard him explain this to me, so give him your.
So the issue that colleges have is that an A is not an A in all schools. GPAs are different in different schools, and you can put together a pretty good GPA by avoiding difficult classes. But having said that, there's some that they don't have anything better. And so as you're getting into it, and And this is not always the case. There's open enrollment in a lot of our universities, and anyone who gets a diploma or a GED can get in, right? But in almost all cases, a higher ACT means greater opportunities and more money. Most of our schools in Utah use merit for their merit-based scholarships or on a matrix. You've probably all seen them. ACTs on one side, GPAs on another, and to get their highest scholarship, their full ride, their full tuition, you've got to get, some of them are above a 27 ACT, some are above a 30, some are above a 32, and then you have a 39, 38 matrix. And so it means opportunity and money. And like we talked a minute ago, right now, it's a barrier for some of our high school seniors to take our USU college classes. You have to have a 23 on your ACT to take 1050.
And that's why I was asking the question, because going back to, that it seems like that ACT score is a lot more
And
important.
it's just,
early on.
I think the colleges don't have any other real way to sort through the kids. And right now you can retake, the laws are, if I get a D in a biology class, I can go take a biology class from any of the online providers or retake it in-house, and I can supplant that B and that D with whatever grade I got. So if you get a bad grade, it's not, you can go get an A somewhere, bring it back into the school and replace the D. So GPAs, you can really doctor a GPA up nowadays. So.
That makes sense.
And didn't you say that Bridgerland's even used to?
Yeah, because if for Bridgerland enrollment, they have to have a minimum ACT or take their.
Oh,
test.
really?
Yeah, so even our Bridgerland kids need ACT, and the better they do on it, the more opportunities they have. It's a low ACT is a barrier sometimes. It's not, you can get into schools, right? It's not the end of the world, but there are some doors that shut. So we want to open as many as we can.
So that's why it pays to be paying attention to it, to do what you're doing to prep our students for it.
We're trying, we've seen a couple of kids miss some opportunities and not be able to do some things because of their ACT, so we're trying hard. It's incredibly frustrating, hasn't it? But we've got there's some highlights. We've got some kids who've done real well.
That's good.
That's, that, when Rick's talking about the average, because they got the results during the admin meeting. And they're just having a meltdown over there. Started looking at the results during admin meeting. I was, well, okay, what's up? You buying a car? What's going on over there? Anyway, so we took a little break and looked at them, but so you get some 33s. We had some kids sophomore class get 36s, which is a perfect score in English, but then you get some 14s, so your average doesn't go, and we're giving it to everybody, so it's not like you just pick and choose, but everybody in the state is giving it to everybody. Now, we used to use that, say, because we always had a higher percentage of kids taking it than the state average, but now that the state pays for it as juniors, everybody takes it, and so that's not a
You can't pick and
factor
choose.
anymore. But it's because of that, I get so excited about the 33 and the 14 pulls it back. And again, not at junior colleges, but NCAA also, we have to get a Division I.
We're trying to get 17, I think, for the clearinghouse number with the GPA. It's gotta be about 17. So it matters to some of these kids.
How many, I don't know if you know this off the top of your head, is there a lot that will hit that goal of they'll increase at least 2, just individually?
The majority of them
If
have.
we can get,
So it's just sounds like it's just some that just don't
if they'll
improve.
do the work, they need to take some tests.
The more prep they do.
And then the books we give them, after they take the test, they can either look at the ones they guessed on or the ones they missed. And they can go see, typically there's 4 answers, and it'll say why the one's right and the other 3 are wrong. I just went through the process with my own daughter, and it's a pretty good process that they taught us, but just somehow now we gotta get. I wish we'll drive all over this state to go learn how to hit a volleyball or shoot a basket or I've done it myself. I'm guilty. We go every Saturday for a month and a half to go play in a basketball game, and we won't take 2 Saturdays to prep for the ACT. ACT means lots of opportunity, lots of money, and basketball you won't play again after they do high schools. We're trying. But I don't want to get, I think they bite on it.
Well, I'd accept a motion to approve the trust land plans.
Oh my. that motion.
I'll second it.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. And the next one, we're gonna kick that one down the road to the next meeting.
Yeah, we're gonna make some more changes in the middle school schedule. Mr. Larson, Mr. Mata, Mr. Taylor, and Mrs. Lundgren have met, and there's gonna be a few more changes. So rather than pass it now the way I sent it out and then redo it, we just table that until we get the final schedule ready to go, and then we'll reflect those changes and do
Sounds
it in a cleaner way.
Okay,
Probably need a motion to table that. I'll
Yeah.
motion to table that.
okay,
I'll second the motion.
okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, school calendar.
All right, the school calendar led to some interesting discussion. And we don't have unanimity. I can't even say what we don't have, but we're not unanimous on how to address this. So I'll try to be as candid as I can and have the other administrative team go in on it. Got some feedback from people after they had a chance to look this over. And of course, we've got to the point where there's a lot of people that don't like coming on Fridays. And this calendar had us coming on 2 Fridays, February 24th and March 10th. So some folks on, when we got the waiver way back when, the waiver got us away from the 180 days. So we waived the 180 days, but we had to maintain the 990 instructional hours. During COVID, the days thing got waived all over. I think those waivers are going to become less generous as we move back, but we do exceed the 990 hours. That's something that the board has always wanted to do, so we went right up against it. But we could add 5 minutes to the day and get rid of both of those Fridays. There's some support from the principals and from staff to do that. We could also go to school on Martin Luther King Day, which seems to be the more politically charged of the days, the day that everybody takes it off, and go to school on President's Day. And that would leave us only 1 Friday instead of 2. And if we backed off the number of hours that we're attending, we could actually do away with that Friday. There's some push there. I guess I pushed back again about that because I said I just don't want to get back. And if we give up days, we'll never get them back. Now hours, we can adjust the hours. And they say, well, add 5 minutes to the day, you've got the hours. What's the day? And so the other argument was strongly that those Fridays won't be the best instructional days because in our culture, Fridays have become Saturday, what Saturdays used to be. You just don't go to school on them.
When we do have Fridays, is there a lot that just don't even come to school?
There's quite a few. Now, a lot of that's impacted by games. The 2 weeks that we picked, we checked, and right now they would be not impacted. The 1 week would be the week of play-ins for boys and girls basketball. That would happen on Saturday, so wouldn't be anything Friday. We were hoping that, well, I know the coaches will want to practice, so they'll have to be in school to practice. So at the high school level, you're gonna cover it by the sports thing. Middle school and elementary, I'm not sure how it would go. So like I said, I hope I've tried to be objective. There was some, we just, there's ways to look at that. And one of the arguments that came in admin meeting was, those aren't that great at instructional days anyway, so let's adjust it. I know one of the concerns the board has always had is if we take Martin Luther King Day off and don't take President's Day off, that's kind of not a very good message either. Politically, you can get away with it. There's quite a few schools now, districts that don't take President's Day, but none that don't take Martin Luther King Day. So that's our dilemma. We can leave it as is. We can,
But even on those weeks we were going on Friday, it's the 2 weeks, there's no school on Monday. So we're technically
still a 4-day
we
week.
still a 4-day week. I mean, we didn't overload a week. I don't know.
You guys have always
There's,
tried to stay away from
Well-
3-day weeks because you figured that anything happened.
And this year we had 3-day weeks. We took President's Day and Martin Luther King Day off and didn't go on Friday.
So how did that work? Was that okay? Is what it is?
It's a 3-day week.
In my opinion, our students got a lot more out of the meaning and the purpose behind Martin Luther King Day and what it stood for when they were in school. We could actually take a day to, a whole day to develop their understanding of what that cultural impact was in our history and what it stood for. But
See, I know the high school did some service projects.
that's my personal opinion.
Yeah.
Because I ran the program and I know it was good for kids and it brought us a different sense of a different culture and diversity to our kids in the middle school, especially that don't get to experience diversity at that level and what that was like, to be a person of color in the 60s or the 50s and the hardship. But now they go home and play video games.
So now it's just another day off. It's just, we just don't have school, so there's nothing,
well.
there's nothing in the community that makes it anything different
Yeah.
than the Monday we don't have school.
Can't have school on that day. You just can't do it politically. Just can't do it. So we try to build that education in.
You
different
guys
places.
said that for years, and I wholeheartedly agree with you, but I also agree that you probably can't do it anymore.
Not Martin Luther.
No, we
have
can't go
Martin
that
Luther
road.
King off.
But I know the
President's
program
Day, I
was
think,
good for kids.
Well, Mr. Larson had good stuff. They had service
did good
projects and
things.
things. It wasn't just your average day in school. It made it an occasion out of it. Now it's just a day off.
Yeah, no, it's too bad, but politically what it is. President's Day, there are more and more schools going that day. And I would prefer a Monday over a Friday because we just don't get the attendance on Friday. We do on a Monday.
I would concur with that.
That's kind of. I'm looking for the politically correct word to say here. That's kind of sad.
That's where it is.
I mean, it's.
Yeah, that's the
It's
one day,
kind of the culture of the county.
one day appeals to a portion of society, the other ought to appeal to everybody.
To everybody, yeah.
And it's the least important of the two.
Mhm. So what's your recommendation?
The world we live in.
I would, my recommendation is the President's Day, we go that 4-day week. And then the other Friday we absorb by in the hours that we have.
I guess you'd get the same option, you guys. With President's Day, you can do something patriotic
I don't know, we can make President's Day
Would make
actually a day that they would remember.
Yeah.
Yeah,
and
that's what
do
most
something
schools
with it.
are doing now, is it's a
I would,
celebration of our country.
I would go with
We could
that.
make it a nice day.
I would support that.
I'd highly recommend that, because I don't think it ought to just be a forgotten holiday. I don't think it ought to just be a reason to get a day off. I think it ought to be.
Yeah, if you administrators are willing to do that, I would go with that. And if you could absorb the other one by adding a few minutes, or whatever you want to do, make up that other Friday, then I don't have a single Friday with the other graduation day.
Other than the last day.
So how would you add those minutes? Would you just go
Well, I
3?
think if it's just one day, we wouldn't have to add much.
No, you could probably do it with, well, we figured it out for 2 days, but if you did it for 3 minutes, maybe,
See if it's
We
just
just
starts at
adjust
3
it.
you
minutes.
just start the clock, I promise you, I can ring the bell 3 minutes earlier tomorrow morning and not one person in the building will know.
The way it's.
No, they won't. We got the train.
Except for you.
My kids are
Sound
late.
goes off, they walk. It's easy.
We're all,
Kiwanis would
we're all a
know.
little different at when you count up minutes.
Yeah, no doubt.
The high school has,
Yeah.
I think, 2.5 days, maybe 3 days
We
already.
start at 8.
So we've already adjusted and we're at 1,008.
Yeah, you
You
think
got a
yeah.
little cushion.
We're 18 hours.
Yeah.
So 6-hour day, we're 3 days over right now. It's just the way it is. But they're close.
The elementaries are closer because they have, well, now that we found out we can count recess as contact time, so we're there, but it would really tighten it up, but we could do it.
And I'm fine with that. I just want the board to understand that once you give up days, it'll be hard to get them back.
Yeah, I'm not a fan
But
of giving up. days.
We're above hours, so, you know, we're okay. And I concur with what the principals are saying. That what we've turned into Fridays are not the best instructional days, because that's what it used to be. When we would have gone to school back in the day, if they'd made us go on Saturday, it would have been, there was a couple times. I just think, I only remember once during the big blow of 72, which is before most of the people in here were even thought of, we had to make up some Saturdays. That was just unheard of.
Yeah.
Well, I remember, there was one year when I was in school, I don't remember what grade, but no one was done hanging, so they kicked school back a week and we went on Saturdays a month or two later. No one considered doing that now.
Well, I'm glad to see that you're not trying to go Wednesday of state. I've heard
And that's what,
nothing but
got
good
us
comment,
to-
or nothing but terrible comments about coming day that way.
And that was, in my opinion, was more a problem of staff than even kids. Because we just didn't have, between the number of people that are coaching, and it's not just at the high school, Mr. Mata loses a lot of people out of his building. And it's hard to get subs, and it just wasn't a good
Yeah,
day.
that's a good move.
And that's one of the reasons we gotta be real careful not to lose our 4-day week, because if we went back, we used to have all kinds of those days. They were just Fridays when boys and girls were, wrestling was all gone and teachers were gone and the days were terrible. The kids would come to the office, check me out, nothing's going on. We just gotta do everything we can not to go back to that, not because it's a 4-day week, but because Fridays were just not a good instructional situation. So, would you, of your staff, how many?
oh, I think there were 2 of us, 3 of us there.
Regular staff?
Yeah, right.
Wow.
No, I
In the
don't-
middle
I like
school,
that.
the elementary, probably more. I think there were probably, I think 3, 5, 4 or 5 out of 6 or 7 were there.
Yeah, my elementary was pretty good. I lost one, but it depends on, you know, where you're at with your kids and all that stuff.
No, it's highly impacted. There's no question. That's what got us to where the Fridays are. We take that day, you have to take it somewhere else.
Okay, we'll take both the Fridays off. One day absorbed, and one day we'll go on President's Day and make President's Day a patriotic day.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm good with that. You
We'll
guys
send
good with
that out, make sure it's okay. So I guess we could adopt that at this meeting and then
Ratify.
ratify next.
Time.
Okay, I'd accept a motion to adopt that. school
I'll make the
calendar.
motion that we adopt that calendar.
I'll
Okay.
second it.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, motion carries. All right, staffing.
We can do this one of two ways. In the past, we've always gone into closed session to address provisional staff. Every year, the board has to approve those with 3 years and less experience for reemployment the next year. And so we can either go in now or later, or you can just hear the recommendation of the principals, but that, if you have questions, we would need to go into executive session to address that. We've got positive recommendations on all staffing, but we need to, if you have questions or concerns, we need to go into executive session.
What's your preference?
Why not her? If someone has a question, we can just do it.
Okay, so we'll save that to the end.
All right.
Is that all right? Okay, information items, homeschool request, everyone see that?
Yeah.
Okay. And we'll go to UHSAA.
As I said in the packet, I haven't anything there right now. I thought we might be getting something, but haven't.
Okay, USBA.
We had some of the board members attend convention. If there's anything you'd like to share with those that didn't get to go.
You guys like to share anything?
My only comment would be that, and we talked a little bit about it there. I know that you had mentioned that we have goals and whatnot, and I think that that we, at some point in the future, kind of bring those back out and talk about goals in the district. That was one of the main points that I had going, or that I noticed going through that was goals of districts, and then just a relationship between the board and the superintendent and all that. And those were my takeaways, I guess, my main takeaways.
Mr. Lyon?
Well, and down those same lines, is listening to them, talk about goals, I thought, oh, I don't know that we've ever visited about what our district goals are. And I think that's not because we don't have goals. It's probably because those goals, and we're getting where we want to go with our academics. But I think at some point we ought to get those out and articulate them so that as board members, we know just what our goals are. So when our constituents, we can say, what, our goal is to not produce NFL athletes, but to produce Einsteins or
Get our ACT score up 1 more point.
One more point. Point one.
Whatever that might be. No, that's good. Ms. Johnson?
I wrote down a couple notes. I went to the same one that Richard went to, and it was probably my favorite one. They talked about teachers having the greatest impact on student achievement, and the level influence of a position decreases further from the classroom. So they talked about that, and understanding the district goals, the strategic plan, and having that relationship between the board and the superintendent is the how of getting that done. And then I attended one that I really liked. It was based on the Hope Squad, and they're out of Utah. And they talked a lot about mental health. And I talked to Weston when I got back, and we have looked into to their organization, but their YouTube, they have My Life is Worth Living series. It was really, really cool. So the person that animated the Rugrats, you know, the Rugrats on Nickelodeon, he did all the animation for them and he works on their board. So it was really neat. It was the cookcenter.org. And those
So
were
what was that, Jamie? I'm sorry.
it was on mental health
Yeah, what was
and
the organization called?
the Cook Center.
Cook Center.
Mhm. Yeah, and they came about because he had a neighbor's son who took his own life, and he was the first on the scene. The wife's husband wasn't home, so he called the neighbors. So the wife and the husband went over, and it impacted him so much that he set up a foundation. He's actually the owner of doTERRA, the doTERRA oils. So, yeah, so they set up this Cook Center and they started making these animated series. It was very impactful.
No, that's pretty good stuff.
Mm.
Well, I would just make the comment, you know, we go to these and I've said this before, but I always come back feeling how fortunate we are. And that it seems like compared to the national, and not that we don't need goals or need to strive for improvement, but I think we're ahead of the curve. I think we're, you know, Mr. Mata mentioned it earlier, we've got so many things going here and we've got schedules packed, and it's amazing to me how our students, if they want to, if they desire, can do a million things before they graduate. And there's a lot of schools that it's not an option. They're working towards a diploma and that's it. And if our students choose to, there's so much more they can do, and so many less, I guess, smaller problems we deal with at our school than that some of them, the rest of them are dealing with. I don't know, Superintendent, anything you want to add?
I guess the thing that probably was my favorite, the break or the general sessions, in my opinion, were weaker than they've been in years past, except the very last one. Lamb didn't do it, but story of a young lady who grew up basically homeless. She had parents early on, but drug addiction and so forth, and her mother passed away of AIDS. She was homeless, and two people, her upstairs neighbor named Arthur, and then a guy, when she checked into a school, basically being homeless, that took interest in her, and she made it to Harvard. But I guess what I got out of that is relationships are still the key to turning things around. It's to just two people that actually build a relationship with her, changed her life. So, and I agree, and it's with what was said with goals. I think what I would suggest there, it's been a long time now. Mr. Mata and Mr. Larson, as part of their credit, well, as part of the accreditation, they both looked at their mission statements and have adjusted those a little bit. But two or three things I would like to do. I would like to revisit our mission statement, and then from there get to some specific goals that match the mission statements, and get some community input on that. Now that's going to take some work, either in a work session without a lot of other people, or we can take time during a board session, but work sessions are a little more effective for that. But I think we need to do it. And I would also, following a little bit what I heard Mr. Lamb saying, I think not only do we do that with our academics, because our mission statement should encompass everything we do, our academic activity, which would include music, drama, athletics. But if we did that and articulated maybe even some of our goals with what we want to get out of our activity program, it would give you when people come up to you and say, why aren't, well, here's, we talked about this, this is our mission statement, these are our goals. What you're asking is not a good or bad thing, but these are the things we're focusing on now. I think it would be a good, it's gonna take some time, but I think we should. The other thing that came out of our regional meeting, there are the past master boardmanship trainings and so forth. In the past, when new boards change, sometimes old superintendents think, well, we've already made that decision. We don't need to go back there and get the new board. I want to, we had a board before and it didn't want to be part of any of that. They didn't want to play master boardmanship and so forth. A couple of key players that are no longer with us kind of push that. So I've never really pushed it since. I thought, well, we made that decision. We didn't want to play that game. But this board may want to play it. So that's another thing I think we need to talk about is how much do you want to work on master boardmanship trainings or not? It's not required, but it's something that's available. And we just haven't visited that. And so that's something, as turnover happens, I need to revisit some of those things. And the decision may be the same, but the decision may be different. So,
And I think that entails 6 courses, right? To get that master boards award.
and you guys are also good. I'm not sure to beat that for, but we wouldn't be the ones that few at the state convention. Like, where's Rich? We're on.
Master what?
We're helping Pete pull his cat.
So I concur. So I would take direction from the board of when you'd like to start on that. Again, my vision would be we start with our mission statement and then work from there. Tweak that and we can start as early as May or during the summer when we're not. I wouldn't do it during the June meeting because of the
It
budget,
would be a really long meeting.
but we can start whenever you want and
Maybe
start that work.
Maybe in the May meeting, we have another little work session and go over that. I think that's a good idea.
Okay. Principals will want you involved in that for sure.
Okay.
The other thing that I was just looking at my notes, reviewing it, it was a common thing. Or it was the one that you and I attended about like that. So they talked about like they had like a mobile app, email groups, stuff like that. And I didn't know if we wanted to visit that maybe in that work session or another future one of discussing just I think that what I took away from that is how important it is that we're all on the same page of like how we should communicate with the public and how we should do all that. And I think that would be worth.
I think the app they showed was a good idea.
Yeah.
They had
I don't know.
with the calendar on it. And it was pretty easy to navigate.
It was made by Blackboard was the company. I don't know how much that would cost us. But it basically was an app that had a way for people to put in some input, like if it was, they talked about how they actually had some people anonymously tip on some stuff that was great, but then also just some feedback and whatnot. It's just a way to get feedback on the schools and all that they could look through.
Well, maybe in our work session, we'll bring that up too. We can talk about that. Okay, I don't have anything to report from Bridgerland unless someone else does. Meal payout policy.
Just, we talked about it last time, and we kind of, I stuttered and stammered exactly what was what, so I just included that for your information. We revisited that probably less than 2 years ago and raised it, so not, of course, 7% inflation. You can't keep up with it, so, but, anyway, we did revisit it relatively recently, and that's where we're at.
I read through it and I think we're probably all right for the time being. We just have to keep an eye on that and see where things go. You guys all right with that, or we can have a consensus there to keep where it's at, or do we need to put it on the agenda as an action item?
Just keep in mind, if we do change that, we have to amend fee schedules. Because those are all tied together, so that they are hand in hand.
This is the enforcement on the wheels and stuff.
Yeah.
I got a differ, I think you can't eat a hamburger for what we're paying.
$10.
Yeah. I mean, you really can't. You go sit down in the restaurant, and have the cheapest thing on the menu sometimes $15.
I don't think,
That's not even a drink.
I don't think they stop and sit down anywhere, usually. It's a Maverick stop.
It's Maverick or
Or a
McDonald's.
fast food, yeah.
But
I don't know, maybe-
That's kinda what that's what I'm
Maybe
basing
that
it
still
on.
has some merit then, but you know, and the 5 3 meals at $28, no way. Unless you got a continental breakfast at the motel, then you might, you know. could
Which is
choose.
always booked as continental breakfast. That's what we try to do.
So those were my thoughts, that it was pretty inadequate.
Has there been any comments from the staff or anything like that?
No, I haven't had any comments on it at all.
I mean, maybe it's not our obligation to pay for everything that they want to eat, maybe it's to just supplant it. If that's the case, then that's probably it. If you're thinking of buying the meals, then it's not.
And maybe Jenny's point, I'm not saying we shouldn't look at it, but maybe next year, if we can remember to do that.
Before,
Before fee schedules and get the fee schedule in line and then the budget in line, because, you know, that also affects bus drivers, coaches, it's everybody that goes out.
Staff.
It was just a couple of years ago that we looked at that, and didn't we do a pretty good adjustment?
We
then?
did adjust it. a couple of years ago,
Yeah, it
but
was-
still, you know, now it's got.
we went from
Yeah.
like $7 to $10.
Yeah, that's what I thought. I
So
thought
it
we'd
was-
done.
It's a pretty
I'm
good job.
fine with waiting in the next.
Just don't let us forget, Jenny,
Okay,
visit it before fee schedules.
I'll put it on
I'll
my
forget.
schedule.
Okay. May board meeting.
I think the 17th is the Tuesday.
Yeah, we got a meeting regular on that day, but it gets out at noon, I think, so. So I'm good with the 17th. How's that look for the rest of you?
I'm good about that. I could go a day earlier than on later.
Okay, you guys all right with that?
16th would work, so you can go the 16th. Would that be better for you? Is that what you're saying?
I don't care. I'm just gonna be gone on the 18th for a week.
I could make the 17th work.
Mr. Larson saying he's got state golf that day.
On the 17th,
You wanna go the 16th?
16th would be a little better for me, but I mean, I can make the 17th work, but the 16th would be a little bit better for me
I'm
too.
good, whatever there.
You all right, 16th, Pete?
Yeah, it should be all
Mr.
We've been
Ryan?
switching a lot now that technically the state, we have to turn in a thing to the state early on. And this is our day, but that can be adjusted, but the state dings us saying, oh, you
Oh,
change dates a lot.
because we
It's
have
no-
changed quite a bit.
No, I don't think there's.
Do we
problem.
need to
Just
do
no-
anything to like official, like what if we made an official change?
No Mondays all the time.
Yeah,
Yeah, if we did that before we send it in, when do we usually send that in, Jenny?
It's usually at the first of the school year.
Yeah. So we could. Now, some people might think we're heretics for always meeting on Mondays. But I don't care, but
Let's keep it as is
Yeah, we'll
now.
keep
We'll just see how the next few months go.
so we'll do 16th.
Mhm. Yep.
Work session.
5 o'clock.
yeah.
Is that good? Why, is an hour long enough, or you wanna go longer?
Oh, it's plenty long.
Yeah, I don't want to start much earlier than that.
Hours, plenty of time.
Put that in the minutes. Mr. Modis is an hour, plenty of time, so we're good.
Scratch.
Monday, May 16th, huh?
Yeah, 5 o'clock. Okay, well,
Friday in 1986.
if there's nothing else, I'd accept a motion to go into closed session to discuss.
I'll make a motion that we go into closed session.
I'll second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. Johnson, Mr. McKee, Mr. Lamb, myself, Eric Walmsley, Mr. Cornea, Mr. Savy, Superintendent Lamborn, Principal Larson, and Principal Mata.
Kick that thing out of.
Present are Mr. Johnson, Mr. McKee, Mr. Lamb, myself, Eric Walmsley, Mr. Cornea, Mr. Savy, Superintendent Lamborn, our Principal Rick Larson, and Principal Kip Mata. At this moment, time, I'd accept a motion to approve some names.
Okay, I'll make a motion that we hire Weston Taylor as principal of the high school.
Okay, got a motion, need a second?
I'll second it.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, motion carries.
And I'd also like to make another motion that we hire or Bradley Holmes as head coach at the middle school. And as an assistant coach over there, Barbie Weston at the middle school.
I'll second that.
Okay, motion and second, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, motion carries.
Make a motion that we spend. How do I put that?
Provisional.
Provisional teachers that are currently hired
Okay,
at which school district.
got a motion, I have a
I'll
second.
second it.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, motion carries. Anything else?
Consensus for the-
Oh, and then we have a consensus from the board to proceed with the sideline chair. Does that sound all right? Does that, I need to say that? Okay. Then if there's nothing else, I'd accept a motion to adjourn.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second it.
Okay, I think we're all in favor.
Aye.